Welcome to Fighting Stats, the ultimate channel for UFC fans who love statistics and betting breakdowns. I'm your host, Art C, and today I'll be getting you ready for the upcoming UFC fight. Here at FightingStats.com, we have exclusive UFC stats not available anywhere else. We can tell you how often a fighter throws that left hook or that right jab in southpaw, how often they move backwards, or how often they throw kicks. We have all of that information, but that is not all. In this series, I'll be watching tape and I'll give you my real-time analysis on how the fight's going to go. I'm going to watch for fighter strengths, weaknesses, tendencies, and overall strategies to give you my prediction on how I think the fight is going to go and ultimately who's going to win. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Fighting Stats. Welcome back to Fighting Stats. I'm your host, Art C, and today we are breaking down the UFC Paris main event between Benoit Saint-Denis and Renato Moicano. All right, so we watched the fight tape on this. We're going to go through all of our fighting stats. We'll tell you what the numbers say, and then I'll give you my prediction on how I think the fight's going to go and maybe where the money should go or maybe where the best bets are. So we're going to get it breaking down for you for our fighting stats dashboard here on the tail of the tape. I have Benoit Saint-Denis here on the blue side, Renato Moicano here on the red side. So right off the gate there, Benoit Saint-Denis going to have 1 inch of reach advantage. He fights from southpaw, and he looks going to be about 6 years younger here. Benoit Saint-Denis 5-2 in the UFC, 60% of his wins coming from KO. 40% coming from submission, has not gone to decision there. There's 2 losses, one by KO and one by decision. And on the Moicano side, he's 11-5 in the UFC. Definitely more experienced. 9% of his wins coming from KO, 55% coming from submission, and 36% of his wins coming from decision. He does have 5 losses, 60% of them coming from KO, 20% coming from submission, and 20% from a decision there. So we're going to get right into our fighting stats offensive breakdown, or our detailed striking report here. So Benoit Saint-Denis going to be a little bit mixing up here. Distance striking, you can see 58% of his strikes landed going to be at a distance, 17% of the strikes landed going to be in the clinch, and 25% of the strikes landed on the ground. So very well rounded there for Benoit Saint-Denis. In terms of his target breakdown, he does go to the head at 71% of the time, 21% of the time towards the body, and 9% of the time towards the legs. And striking accuracy, pretty good. 43% head strike accuracy, 79% body strike accuracy, and 96% leg kick accuracy there. You can see average strikes thrown by round. Pretty average there, going 40, 42, and 36 strikes thrown by round on average, landing about 22, 22, and 20. He does have 4 knockdowns in the UFC, 3 of them coming in round 1, 1 of them coming in round 2. And then you can see the target breakdown per round there as well, averaging about 3 to 4 to 2 leg strikes landed per round there as well, about 12 to 13 head strikes landed. So like I said, again, 4 knockdowns in the UFC, overall 59% striking accuracy. I did want to highlight some of the leg kicks. Not a huge leg kicker. He did go 7 of 8 against Dustin Poirier in that last fight. 2 of 2 against Matt Frivola, but that wasn't too long. Thiago Moises was the last time he actually pulled out a lot of leg kicks, actually landing 25 of 26 leg kicks, or sorry, 24 of 25 leg kicks against Thiago Moises. And then before that, Bonfim, Miranda, Stolz didn't really go to the legs much. So definitely looks like that he's picking up that aspect of his game, going to the legs a little bit more. And then again, in terms of the clinch landed there, he did land a couple of clinch strikes against Dustin Poirier, landing 23 of 25 overall. Moving on to his defensive striking, Benoit Saint-Denis, 77% of the strikes landed are going to be from a distance, 20% on the clinch, and only 3% of the strikes landed against is going to be on ground. In terms of the target against, 77% of the strikes landed against are going to be landing towards the head, 17 towards the body, and 6% towards the legs. His defensive striking, not the greatest, at 47% head strike defense, 88% body strike defense, and 93% leg strike defense. And in terms of the strikes absorbed by round, it does go up as the fight goes on, absorbing 15 in round 1, 25 in rounds 2 and 3, though. And he has been knocked down one time. That was in his last fight against Dustin Poirier. Believe it or not, that was the first time he was knocked down in the UFC. And we'll get to a reason why there. Um, Moving on to the Renato Moicano offensive striking. He's going to be mainly a distance striker, but he does mix in the ground there. So 86% of his strikes landing going to be at a distance, 11% on the ground, and only 3% in the clinch. When he is targeting, he's going to the head about 82% of the time, 11% towards the legs, and 7% towards the body. Offensive striking pretty similar to Benoit Saint Denis at 42% head strike accuracy, 65% body strike accuracy, and 85% leg kick accuracy. And then the strikes thrown by round seems like it does trend upwards, landing about 14 in round 1, then up to 21 in round 2, 25 in round 3, back to 22 in round 4, and then up to 36 strikes landed on average in round number 5. This is a 5-round fight. It's going to be the main event. It's going to be the bigger cage, so that striking output there definitely something to consider there. Um, Overall, at a whole, Moicano, not a huge leg kicker, not a ton of leg kicks in the last couple of fights there. The best leg kick game was against Calvin Kattar, and that was 2018, so 6 years ago. He brought a bunch of leg kicks out in that game, but other than that, he's not throwing a ton of leg kicks when he is standing, mostly just a boxer. And even though Renato Moicano does have a long UFC career, he only has one UFC knockdown. That was against Cub Swanson there and back in 2018, so against 6 years ago. Fought some decent competition though, but one knockdown in his UFC career. So keep that in mind. Moving on to the defensive striking here, 82% of the strikes absorbed are going to be at a distance, 14% of them on the ground. In terms of target breakdown against, 82% of the shots landed towards the head, 8% towards the leg, 10% towards the body. And then head strike defense, not bad at 31%, 70% body strike defense, and 83% leg strike defense. Just like his shots landed, his strikes absorbed actually goes up by round as well. On average, absorbing 14 strikes in rounds 1 and 2, and then it spikes up to 20 and 22 in rounds 3 and 4, and then rounds 5 is up to 38 strikes per round. So on the Moicano side, he has been knocked down a total of 4 times. The last time being Jalen Turner in that first round. If you remember that. Jalen Turner knocking him down in that first round and then sort of standing over him. I felt that he could have finished him. I had a Jalen Turner money there, and I was at that event, and he didn't finish him. He let Moicano come back in that fight and win that fight. But we'll get into that breakdown shortly. Uh, Before that, he got dropped by Rafael dos Anjos, RDA, and Chung Sun John back in 2019 there. All right, let's go over to the grappling report. So Moicano, not the best stand-up striker. Again, not a ton of power, but his bread and butter really relies in his ground game. Again, 55% of his wins coming from submission. So let's start with the Benoit Saint Denis offensive grappling here. You can see that he averages 3.1 takedowns attempted in round 1, 3.2 in round 2, and 5 takedown attempts in round 3. On average, landing about 1.3, 1.4, and 0 in round number 3. So he does shoot a decent number of takedowns, and then the control, decent number of control here. So I look back to the Dustin Poirier fight, the last fight there. He landed 3 of 7 takedowns in that fight. Got 200 seconds of control time round number 1, 93 seconds of control time in round number 2. And then we'll break down sort of what happened in that fight there, but decent numbers against a savvy veteran like Dustin Poirier. Matt Frivola, that one was pretty quick. That one was a head kick, but every other round here, you can see here against Moises, not bad on the ground. Miranda, Ezequiel dos Santos, all of them not bad ground guys, and he's shooting multiple takedowns in multiple rounds there. So again, he shot 7 against Poirier, against Thiago Mazes. He shot 16 times against Moises. Miranda shot once, Stoles he shot 5 times, and Ezequiel dos Santos 14 times. So he will shoot those takedowns. He's landed 16 of 43, so not the best takedown accuracy, but he does get you down. He does have some decent control seconds there as well. And then when he is on the ground here, just looking at the ground strikes landed, not a ton of ground strikes, but he did land a bunch against Moises when he did have him on the ground, against Gabriel Miranda as well. Dustin Poirier is a little bit craftier. He only landed 2 ground strikes against Poirier when he got him down. Defensive grappling here. We're seeing, maybe Moicano likes to shoot here. So in total, Benoit Saint Denis has seen 13 takedowns against. He's only allowed 4 of them. Two of them coming against Matt Frivola, one of them against Thiago Moises, and one against Gabriel Miranda. So not the best of wrestlers, but they did get him down 4 times. Didn't give up a ton of control time. Again, got taken down twice by Matt Frivola for a total of 25 seconds of control time allowed. So decent grappler there for Benoit Saint Denis. Let's go over to the Moicano side. So not as big of an output for Moicano in terms of the takedown attempts, only averaging 1.4 takedowns attempted in round 1, drops down to 1.2 in round 2, and only 1 attempt in round 3. On average, just being successful on point 0.6, point 0.6, and point 0.3 takedowns total there. So let's go into that last one. In that last fight here, he landed 2 of 6 takedowns against Jalen Turner for about 172 seconds, 178 seconds. That was the key in that fight there. He was able to get them down to the ground, control Turner on the ground for that one. Same thing with Drew Dober. Really, that made the difference in that fight, is getting Drew Dober down to the ground, controlling him there. Looked like Drew Dober's going to finish him there, but he landed 3 takedowns of 5 against Drew Dober there. Rafael Dos Anjos never got him down. Alex Hernandez got him down twice. And then Jai Herbert, again, another striker, going 5 of 7. So overall in his career, he has shot 42 times, 42 takedowns, landing 19 of them. So just under 50% takedown accuracy for Renato Moicano. On the defensive grappling here, so not really sure who's going to be shooting first. I do think it's going to be Saint Denis. So the defensive grappling here, not a ton of people have tried to take down Moicano. He's only seen 33 takedown attempts in his UFC career. Only 9 of them have landed. Drew Dober got him down once. RDA got him down 5 times. That's a decent number there. So RDA not afraid to go down to the ground there with Moicano, getting him down 5 times, winning that fight. And then before that, the last person to get him down was in 2016. Zaberia Takugov was the last person to get him down. Nobody has really shot on Moicano. Not a ton of big grapplers here. Let's go through the list. Other than RDA, Alex Hernandez, Jai Herbert, Raziel Faziv, Demir Zolvik, Chang Sung Jung, Jose Aldo, Cub Swanson, Calvin Cater, Brian Ortega, Jeremy Stevens. None of these guys are really top-notch grapplers like a Benoit Saint Denis. So keep that in mind. So let's go on to our fighting stats time breakdown here. So here we have Benoit Saint Denis here. Over the time that we watched here, 37% of that time was spent standing, 44% of that time was on the ground, and 15% of that was in the clinch. So when he was on the ground, of what we taped here, Benoit Saint Denis was 41% of that time was in back mount, and 43% of that time was in side control. So different positions there. Definitely some positions where you can work the submission, being in back mount and side control there. When he is on bottom there, you can see 71% of the time he was on bottom was full guard. 29% of the time he was in north-south there. So on the Moicano side, same sort of picture here. 55% of the fight time that we watched was on the ground. 33% of the time was fight standing. When he is on top, it looks like 32% of the time he's in half guard, 31% of the time he's in full mount, and 23% of the time he was in back mount. So again, very dangerous positions for Moicano when he is on top. When he is on bottom, 56% of the time was in half guard, 37% of the time was in full guard, 7% of the time was in side control. So not a lot of people have gotten into full mount against him. Actually, it hasn't given up full mount yet. Hasn't even given up a back mount either. So Moicano doing a good job of keeping the people in front of him in full guard and half guard there. So again, Saint Denis a little bit different than some of the fighters. I would compare him to Rafael Dos Anjos in terms of the grappling there, but worth noting there. So in terms of the striking tendencies, we're getting Saint Denis here on the left side here. So 75% of Saint Denis strikes are going to be considered single strikes. He does work in the kicks about 40% of the time, so that's a big difference there. His most likely strike there, 19% of the time, he's throwing that rear high kick. So the most common strike he's like is that rear high kick. He does sound southpaw, so it's that left kick to the head there. Definitely going to be open against southpaw versus orthodox in this fight, so keep an eye on that rear head kick there. 14% of the time, he's going to throw that straight 2 down the middle. There's going to be that left down the middle. 9% of the time is going to be that check right hook. 8% of the time is just that right jab, and then 8% is that rear low kick. So, and 4% is the the right hook there. So a lot of single shots there for Saint Denis, not a ton of combos. Again, 75% single strike rate, and again, it shows in the actual shot selection there as well. On the Moicano side, slightly lower at 63% single strike rate, only 14% kicking rate there. His most common strike is his jab. He goes to the jab at 33% of the time. He goes to the 1-2 12% of the time, and he goes to the 2 8% of the time. So just over 50% there is just the 1-1-2, and the 2 for Moicano striking. Again, he doesn't have a ton of knockouts just because he doesn't vary the striking too much. 3% is, 6% is the left hook, and 6% is that rear low kick. Doesn't go to the low kick too much there. So just gives you an idea in terms of the striking. Again, it is going to be southpaw versus orthodox. So um, this is how I see the sort of the fight going down. And so this is my breakdown. Again, we talked about Saint Denis going to be in southpaw. We talked about Moicano being in orthodox. So the first thing off the bat is that Saint Denis makes his debut against Ezekiel Dos Santos, and if you go back and watch that fight, it's crazy that there wasn't a knockdown. Dos Santos just put on a complete beating on Saint Denis. That fight should have been stopped multiple times. It's funny because that referee actually got fired after that fight because he didn't stop the fight. He took a point away from Dos Santos in the third round there as well. But it just really put on a showcase on Saint Denis' chin, his durability, his ability to fight back, and his actual cardio. He took a huge beating. Two of those rounds should have been 10-8 rounds, but he was able to fight back, continue the fight swinging. He was able to get takedowns in the third round there after getting beat up pretty badly there. So, again, it really shows on display in terms of his durability, his ability not to get knocked out, his ability to come back from adversity, things like that. And again, we talked about Moicano. Only 9% of his wins coming from KO. He doesn't have a ton of power. Only one UFC knockdown in his career. So I'm definitely going to give the power edge to Benoit Saint Denis. I'm also going to give the durability edge to Benoit Saint Denis. I do think that he can take a little bit more punishment than Renato Moicano can. Sorry. Moicano coming to the sort of this tail end of his career, a little bit older there, and again he did get knocked out and should have been finished by Jalen Turner in that last fight, but so I give Benoit Saint Denis definitely an edge on the feet in terms of the striking, the variation of striking attacks. He does throw more kicks. He throws the high kick a little bit more. He does throw the left straight down the middle a little bit more. Again, southpaw versus orthodox, going to be a big difference there. And again, the chin is going to be favor Benoit Saint Denis a big time in this 5-round fight. The cardio should favor Benoit Saint Denis as well, and the power in terms of the striking output should also favor Benoit Saint Denis. So that brings us to the grappling edge. So I know a lot of people are going to say that Moicano has the grappling advantage, and I would say yes, in terms of pure BJJ, he's probably the better grappler of the two. But I do want to say Benoit Saint-Denis is probably the better wrestler, and I want to say that he's probably better. He's stronger in the clinch. He's probably stronger on the ground. So I think in the early rounds, it's going to be all Benoit Saint-Denis. I do think that Saint Denis is not afraid of going down to the ground with Moicano. I think he does shoot for the takedown. Again, there hasn't been a fight where Benoit Saint Denis hasn't shot a takedown, other than the Matt Frivola. Again, that one was head kick very early. But multiple fights and multiple rounds, he's shooting for takedowns. I think he's going to get it. Moicano, probably not the best of takedown defense because he relies on his ground game there. Not a ton of people have tried to take Moicano down, right? We talked about really only seeing 33 attempts. And again, none of these guys on the grappling prowess of a Benoit Saint Denis. I don't rate, Jalen Turner's grappling, Drew Dober. Really, the only one comparable is RDA, and RDA attempted 15, 20 takedowns, got him down 4 times there. So I can see the fight going very similar to the RDA fight. That fight was complete domination from RDA there, going the 5 rounds. So for me, I lean Benoit Saint Denis. I think he has all of the intangibles. I think for Moicano to win, it's going to be a combination of some kind of fluky submission, maybe from the bottom. I think if he can get some top time, if he gets the takedown on Saint Denis and then rides out some top time, I believe that's possible to win some minutes. But overall, I'm gonna have to favor the Saint Denis side to win more minutes. I think he's gonna have bigger moments. I think he's gonna win the minutes on the feet. And I think he could be, he's strong enough, big enough on the ground to not get submitted by Moicano, especially in the earlier rounds. So I would sort of recommend a play on Saint Denis here, and then maybe live. If you like the Moicano side, I would say maybe looking at him live because you could probably get a lot better live number, just like he did in the Jalen Turner fight, just like in the Drew Dober fight. You're gonna get some Moicano late if he can deal with that adversity and get the takedowns. But again, in those last couple of fights there, he had to really rely on the takedowns to win those fights, and I just don't see it happening here against Saint Denis. I understand that the line might be a little bit wide, Saint Denis being a decent sized favorite, but again, this is the main event at UFC Paris. This is Benoit Saint Denis headlining the main event. He's going to be ready for this fight. I did want to mention before I forget is that last fight for Saint Denis. A lot of people are going to write him off. He's going to talk about cardio concerns. For those that don't know, Benoit Saint Denis did have a staph infection coming into that fight. He said that he was on antibiotics. Even after that fight, you could see him sort of pretty much dominating Dustin Poirier in that first round, and then really his cardio fell off a cliff there, slowing down in that second round. The antibiotics, I think, having a big part of that. Nothing on the tape before that suggested that he would had some cardio concerns. So for me, I'm throwing that fight out the window. Again, I'm looking at when he was fresh, he was able to get his back, control Poirier for big amounts of time in that first round, and then in that second round after he starts slowing down, did Poirier actually come back and start landing. So if we assume that Benoit Saint Denis' cardio is on point, he can go the 5 rounds there, then I'm having a trouble seeing how Moicano really puts together a clean fight to beat him. Again, I don't think Moicano's going to put Saint Denis away standing. He's not going to KO him on the feet. Just Saint Denis can just take a brutal amount of punishment. So I don't see the KO happening. And then on the ground, it's going to have to be coming from top time. And I just think Benoit Saint Denis, pretty good grappler in terms of the type level of competition he fought. It could be like an opportunistic, takes the back after a fall or trips or something like that and he gets the back. But otherwise, I think a lot of other methods favor the Benoit Saint Denis side. I think he can win by knockout on the feet. I don't really think that Benoit Saint Denis can get the submission, not early. Maybe it comes late after a little bit of punishment, or it maybe comes from like a club and sub type sort of thing. So I do think that Saint Denis can win a decision as well, and it would be through a lot of grappling, a lot of top time there. So give me Benoit Saint Denis to win by decision. That's my prediction. So give me Benoit Saint Denis to win. I'll lay the juice there. I think he's going to win. I think he has more chances or ways of winning, and I like him in this matchup. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, how you guys feel, if I'm missing anything there. I'm not going to go through my breakdown. I'll get that next time there in terms of how I think the fight's going to go. But overall, again, I think the Benoit Saint Denis side is going to win. Just don't know if he covers the price. We'll get into the price shortly after this. Thanks for watching. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe. You'll get notified anytime we put out new content. Listen to this. We just hit a massive parlay for $29,000 at UFC 297. That is one UFC after 296 where we hit a parlay for $82,000. That's back-to-back parlays. We've made $110,000. And how do we do it? We use our exclusive fighting stats, not available anywhere else. Our exclusive fighting stats gives us information, gives us a big edge over the sportsbooks and tell us what's going to happen within the fights. We post all that information, our breakdowns, our best bets over at patreon.com/fightingstats. Don't miss out. Make sure you subscribe today. Again, my name is Art C. This is Fighting Stats. Thanks for watching.